Hello everyone, my name is Omon Odike and you're watching Omon Scout. Please keep watching. Welcome to Omon Scout. Our guest today is a creative maestro. She broke into the dominated space of interior design, and with cutting-edge innovation, she has successfully positioned her company as a leading interior design firm in 10 years. She's a convener of The Complete Woman, a mentorship program to equip women towards fulfilling their purpose. She's also the co-founder of Oak Teak Foundation, which she founded to restructure healthcare and education in Nigeria. She is no other person than Morenike Molehin, founder and creative director of Oak Teak. Thank you so much, Morenike, for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Morenike, you have been in this business for 10 years?
Yes.
I think a decade this year?
Yeah, so July it will be 10 years.
10 years. Interesting. How has the journey been?
As you can imagine, like 10 years in business, especially in an environment like Nigeria, you can imagine that, it's been challenging, but with the right structure and, putting the right things in place, we thank God that, we are still standing today.
I'm sure our viewers will want to understand how you started and had the courage to start off this kind of a business when it was actually, there were a lot of big players in the market. How were you able to create your own niche? How were you able to break into the market? How were you able to get even the first customer to listen to you?
Amazing. So that's such a beautiful question. So I'll start from my background, right?
Okay.
So I have 2 degrees in mathematics. And then every time that I say this, people always have this expression, wow. So I feel like even me too, I like saying it, so that people can be wowed. And so when I got back from my master's,
okay.
I'd gotten a job and I was working as a consultant at one of these consulting firms. But then I had just recently gotten married and I did up our space. And so because I was very young at the time, so most of my friends would usually come to the house. I would host them and all of that. So everyone would always comment how beautiful the house looked like. Even older people as well, they would comment.
So you had done up a room or
no, the entire house. The entire
okay.
house. So we were living at 1004 at the time. Okay. And so we did up it was a 3-bedroom flat at the time. So I did the entire thing. And my husband was like, you know what, why don't you just start this as a business? And knowing my kind of person, I'm like, I don't think I'm cut out for business, especially in Nigeria. People owe me money. Yes. I won't know how to chase after people. I won't even know how to market, ask people and tell people that, this is what I do. And he was like, what's the worst that can happen? Just start. And if you see that it's something that you cannot really continue or cope with after like 1 year or 2 years, but at least you know that you have started. Yes. Exactly. And so I decided that okay, let me just do this so that it's not be as if I did not listen to my husband. That was my thinking at the time.
So he was your cheerleader.
Yes, he was. And I think that for me the lesson in there is usually if we surround ourselves with like amazing people, good people, some of the skills that we feel that comes naturally to us that we don't think is a big deal, people around us can pick it up, identify it, and they will tell you that why you are so great at cooking. Why don't you open a restaurant? That's if you actually want to, because sometimes I feel like not all passions.
Yes,
exactly. And so at the time, thankfully again, my husband is a strategy person. So where he works, he's head of strategy. So everything that he wants to do is always exactly. I mean, I'm total opposite. So I'm so grateful that we have that balance. And so we sat down and like you had mentioned, he said there are lots of big players already in this industry, but you will need an entry strategy.
Your niche.
Yes, exactly. And so at the time we looked at it, and then all the big players, we tried to see what they were not really doing at the time, right? It could be from the fact that they might just think that, it's not what they want to put their energy in, but we wanted to start with something. So we identified baby nurseries.
Okay.
And so we started with baby nurseries, like doing up baby rooms, baby nursery. So you just had a baby, you want to do up their room.
And truly, nobody was really doing
that. They
weren't
really doing
They just talk about the house, like sitting room and kitchen
exactly. So we then focused on that part. And so we knew that once you do baby nursery,
you can
as you are living there. In fact, that's what happened with some of my clients. As you are living, you're already telling them that we also do living room, or just in case. We also do bathroom, just in case.
But they're already impressed.
But they're already impressed, exactly. So, and even at that point, sometimes we don't even ask. Sometimes they're like, oh, you know what? Now that you've even done the baby nursery, now I'm looking at this living room, it's not looking at par with what you've done. Please, can you do? And we say, okay, yes, we do. And so that's how. In fact, now we hardly even now do baby nurseries. So we now do corporate clients, even residential projects as well, where we start from carcass like that, just bare. Just give us the foundation and the shell, and then we start to work with it. So we do plumbing, electricals, all the POP, the flooring, windows, doors, before we now start doing like the furniture and like furnishing. A lot of hard work. Yes, it's
like the hardware of the house.
Yes. So we have in the company, for example, we have architects, engineers, civil engineers, structural engineers. You know, because we are doing like hardcore construction work. Yes. So I mean, like that's how we were able to break into, and I would say consistency as well has also helped, and also, you know, ensuring that every job that you do, last job that you do, excellence, quality, yes, exactly. And I always say that most times the works of your hands, they should speak for you even when you're not there. Right, you know, I'm sure there will be times where you go out and someone sees your outfit and they're like, this is so that's like every day. Exactly. I love it. But the fashion designer that made it is not standing beside you. The person is probably somewhere in their factory or whatever, but the work that they have done is speaking for them. So we have that at the back of our minds, and we know that when we do projects, it's not just the one-time project. We should be able to get more clients from that project. Yeah, exactly.
So it's so interesting, viewers. I hope you heard her. So even if the industry was saturated and there were big players, one critical thing she has not really mentioned, but the fact that she took the leap of faith, is that she was not afraid. She was not afraid to take that first step to success. That's one. And two, she had to create a niche. And that's one thing many people don't understand, that when you're starting something, you have to find something that is peculiar to you, something you're bringing to the table, something that somebody else is not doing. And that takes a bit of research. So we can't be lazy when you want to be successful. So first and foremost, you ought to understand that I have to be fearless and go and do this thing. Secondly, you have to understand that you have to do it with some strategy. So no need to put too many big words. It's just, what can I do differently? And people will be happy. So it's value creation. So she was able to identify that part, and it worked. And now she can do not just the nursery, now she does the full house, up to the fact that she goes to construction. And you know, the money, when you're talking about nursery, you're talking about starting to build the house from the last stage to finishing. It's a huge difference. And she was able to achieve that in 10 years. So a lot of intentional steps, a lot of strategies you put in place. But around the line, you obviously must have trained yourself, because I know you study mathematics back to back 2 degrees. So I'm sure you must have trained yourself somehow. So how was your training process or education? It doesn't have to be formal, but what did you do?
So I mean, that's really interesting, because again, part of the things that the Bible says that who wants to build a house doesn't first sit down and count the costs, right? So you don't just start building a house and then you've not sat down to actually plan towards it. So I remember at the time I was recently just got married. We didn't have enough funds, and my husband said, I know you that you did your BSc in a private school, you did your masters in the university in UK. I know that if you want to go to interior design school, you will not want to go to Nigeria. You want to go to maybe Italy or America, New York or somewhere. And I said, truly yes, that's where I want to go to. And he said, we can't afford that now. But would that stop us from starting? I said no. Right, so we said what we'll do is that we would have at least what I can provide. I would have internet in the house. You can then school yourself. So what I did was, and I always say this all the time, what I did was I then went to check on the top 10 interior design schools in the world. And when schools are trying to sell their programs to you, they would let you know what the curriculum is. So I downloaded all the curriculum, and I saw that across board there were similar things. So I would take the topics.
That's very intelligent.
Yes, I would take the topics, and mind you, I was working. I just recently got married, and then I recently just became a mom. So that period was just so much. It was intense. But I knew that I needed to pay now
for the future.
For the future, right? If not, what will happen is that you never can tell the missed opportunity. You might never start. I know someone that was supposed to start together at the time. She never started, and she's still saying, "Well, I want to start. I want to start." And I'm like, at least you should even see the progress and know it. And I always say that there's some projects right now that we can take because of our years of experience, and the earlier that you start, the better. So I would remember that, you know, each topic I would take it. So maybe I would take like say maybe lighting, and I'll give myself 3 months. So I'll go to work, come back, do everything that I need to do, sleep, and then wake up by 2. For 2 years, I would wake up at 2 and study till 5 a.m. And then I had to wake up again, prepare for work, prepare my daughter, and then I go to work. And then so I did that.
Life of
exactly.
Yes, dedication.
Yes. So and
you're focused.
Yes, so I self-taught myself on so then after like 4 years, when we could now afford for me to go to an interior design school, I now enrolled in New York Institute of Arts and Designs, and so I took the interior design course.
Our stories are a bit similar because people always ask me, "Hey, but you're a lawyer. How did you go into HR?" I said I self-taught myself. So now I'm even seeing that somebody else shares the same passion.
I mean, like
I had to read everything online, everything
I mean,
before going for meetings.
I mean, like it's more difficult when you're not in a structured environment. If you are the one that is schooling yourself, because there's no lecturer to return in assignments to, so you can decide, you know, not to do it. Yeah. So those 2 years was not easy at all. But see, it has been done and dusted, right? And I'm grateful for that process.
Well done.
Thank you.
I'm sure you know a lot of young ladies would like to go into the interior design business, and they really don't know how to start, or when to start, or how to go about it. So what do you encourage them to do to actually start?
Beautiful. So I remember, I think it was in my third year of business, I already started getting encouraged like this, you know, in my DMs, people sending me messages, or even when I go out to speak, people will say, "I want to do this, but I don't even know how to start." So I even started a seminar, free seminar that I did every year. It was called Design Through His Eyes. And it was set up, you know, to help interior designers that wanted to start, but they just did not have the courage. They didn't know where to start from. Or those that have even started, but like 1 or 2 years, and then they're still trying to find their feet. Exactly, find their feet. But I would say that first off, like, be sure that this is what you want to do, because interior design looks pretty, you know, online. You see the finished project. If I remember one of our interns at the time, the reason why she interned was because she was seeing all the beautiful. So when she now entered, they said that she had to go to market, she had to be chasing artisans, she had to be doing this on site. She would be for money. She's like, I did not think that this was how it was.
It just appeared. No way.
So I mean, like, some people are caught up with the realities, and it's like, oh my goodness, like, what did I get myself into? So you need to understand.
Really want to do it.
Yes, you really want to do it, and then equip yourself with knowledge. And then also know that you can actually start small and then grow big, because it can be overwhelming if you decide to just start everything at the same time, right? You can decide that, okay, you will just start a small project such that you can manage expectations. You can also manage in case there are errors, right? If you take up a big project at first and you make lots of financial errors, you won't make errors on project. It can scar you forever. So right, but if you then start small, maybe just a room. Yeah, just do curtains, just do throw pillows, just do this. With that, you can learn lessons. Exactly. And so I would say just start that, and also your core values are very important. I mean, like, it's not just core values that you just put frame on your office and say our core values are integrity. You need to imbibe it. Exactly. So integrity. I mean, there are days where on a project, you know, we are in between either making profits or just being unprofessional. And exactly. And we're like, no, we rather not make. And we've seen results over and over again where because of making the right decision, we even get a bigger project from that one. So I would always say that at the end of the day, just doing the right thing, excellence. I say excellence is very, very, very costly. Like, it's not easy to be excellent at things. Imagine you tiling an entire space and then you see some, and you're like, you have to break it and do it again. I mean, sometimes you can say, you know what, the person will not even notice, or
yes.
the client is mentioned and say, just manage it like that, you know, just little things. People might just say, oh, I'm excellent. But I always say that paying attention to details, you know, is very critical.
For this kind of
exactly,
business.
it is. So, you know, just as someone you think that you need to sit down, keep learning. We're in an industry where
learn.
Yes.
Learn.
Yeah, because
equip
trends
themselves with
are
knowledge.
Trends are
But
changing.
from the financial part, because you notice that most people are afraid, not really because of too much of the educational part, because they feel if I don't know, I will learn maybe along the way, or I will do some courses in future. But their problem is how do they feel that there's a monetary part that they need to keep aside. So I need you to speak to that. What do they need to have? Money? What do they need to have?
All I wanted or needed at the time, I think, was maybe like, okay, well, this was 10 years ago, so Nigeria's money, the value is different. But I mean, like, I don't think I spent up to 500K, and that was because I wanted to. My own strategy at the time was do my baby's nursery, do it up, take professional pictures, and then try to put it on one of So at the time, I mean, I can mention I put it on Bella Nigeria at the time, and so it went.
Social media was
just starting. It was actually Instagram. It was Facebook that was, you know, out there. So I also put on Facebook, but the Instagram was just starting out at the time. So that's what I did. But I still believe that you don't need money or capital to start. That's my own philosophy.
I think
if I'm starting any business,
because they will pay you upfront.
Exactly. But you just need someone that will trust
you,
because interior design is capital intensive. So yeah, if you can get someone that can trust you and you can show them that, you know, this is what I can do. And I mean, like, you know, mock up designs and say, this is my mood board, you know, what do you think about it? And I always advise that if you can start with family and friends.
I was going to say, I started
with family and friends.
The best way to start.
Because with my first project, I did it with my parents' house. And I remember going back to my dad and telling my dad that, see, look, I did not calculate this thing well from the beginning.
Are you serious?
And you have to give me like almost like 7 million naira extra.
Okay.
And we sat down.
Imagine if that was a client.
Imagine for the client. That was just
that's
first
zero.
of all, I'm not if the person is going to give me money, just know that the person don't get to offer that money, right? So in fact, my dad had to ask me to come to his office. Let's have a meeting.
Why?
So I had to do the breakdown, and you know, and he was like, you need to be careful, because if this was someone else, they won't have paid this money. So I'm grateful.
You learned through your family.
I learned through my family, and they would give me concrete feedback. For example, I just started another business. It's a cleaning service. So from experience, what I did was for the first 3 months, I decided to use my friends. So I, you know, told the cleaners to go to their houses, and I told them that the reason why, exactly, I said, I'm not going to take money from you. All I just need is your feedback. And obviously, like someone,
I think you should come and clean my house.
I'm coming. I'm going to come. And so that's what we did, and I'm so grateful. In fact, I still got feedback yesterday, and it's something that we now look at. I said, okay, this is what we would do next time. I mean, like, but I'm grateful that I adjust, exactly. But I'm grateful that it was within
the family. I really like the way you're being intentional about your business.
Thank you.
And I would like to ask another question, and I'm sure those young people and those who have already started the interior design business would like to know, what are the hard lessons you've had to go through in your business? Those terrible moments where you felt, I can't continue with this. Or was that moment, did you ever feel like that throughout the journey, 10 years? Did you ever have those moments?
So I think that the first time that I really had that, and it might seem maybe a bit, why is your own so good like that? My own was in 2020. The first, that was like
just
just after COVID. So it was a good problem, but it was still a problem. So because people had stayed in their homes for long, so they discovered that it wasn't so nice and all that. So we had like pressure. We had so much work. Like people were just calling, and so you cannot really say no to so much work like that. But and then I think that
and we're still
not allowed to move around. And then even for people that had like fantastic homes, but then they realized that they needed like home offices because they were working from home. So we had to set up home offices. And then I think that I now had like 2 or 3 people resign, like back to back. So it was just, so one day I just sat down I started crying, and I just said, you know what, maybe I should just be a housewife. And just, you know, be and just be enjoying my husband's money, and you know, life should just be sweet. But immediately I cried, and then I wiped my tears, and I'm like, yeah, no, we will do this now. Like, I'm sure people have had bigger, and even gone through bigger things. And so I said, okay, so what's the next step? What do I need to do? And so that's one thing about me. When I'm faced with challenges, I will first take it in, and then I can express it in different ways. And then the next thing is, okay, so what's the plan? How do you get out of this? Because this too shall pass. I always tell myself that. See, the challenges that you faced 5 years ago, exactly, and they've already gone. So this too will pass. You're going through this now. You will go through it, and you would be fine. And so that's what I did. But I would say that for me, human capital has been a very big challenge. Yeah. So in terms of like the artisans, you know, like relating unskilled labor, even as well with even the skilled ones as well. You know, there are lots of dynamics. So I would say that for me, that's like one of the major challenges.
Would you say it's more of their being able to stay, the retention part, or is more of what they're able to give, their skill level? What's really for the skilled one, I would say that 90% of everyone, like, people are fine, because right from recruitment there are things that we're looking out for. So the chances of higher right? But again, you also know that sometimes you can hire right, everything is looking pem, but it's time to deliver.
Exactly. But I would say that, you know, 90-95% of the time we get you right. But you see that 5%, you know, and immediately, because of systems and structure that we put in place, you already can see the indicator that if you're not meeting up to these things, we'll give you the first one, the second warning, but the third warning, you know, if it's something that we cannot continue, then we would, you know, have to replace you. Now, you know, in the last, say, I would say, for example, last year we had 3 people that had to leave based off on, you know, Jackpa. No, not performance.
Jackpa. Okay.
Yes. So we had like 2 people relocate to the UK, 1 person to Canada, you know, and we're happy for them as well. So that's also something that is a new reality for me as an employer. Exactly, as an entrepreneur, to say that, okay. And so now, intentionally, even during the interview process, I would ask you that, you know, do you have
what's your plan?
Yes, you have plans to relocate.
6 months, 1 year.
Exactly. So that we can also, and if you will say you have plans to relocate, maybe in the next 1 year, 2 years, it doesn't mean that I will not hire you. But it's just, I already have it, exactly, and you can prepare for it. And then I would also say that, you know, as an entrepreneur, one of the strategies I'm also putting in place is ensuring that no person can do their work. Exactly. So a role
duplicates the personnel.
Yes, exactly. So even if it's not the person's major work, is something that the person can step into if someone has to maybe be on leave, or, you know, immediately, maybe abruptly, person is being terminated. The person even has to go, right? You don't now have to start finding someone. Yes, and because if you do that, that can be dangerous as well, because because of your desperation, you just want to find anybody. Exactly. So I would say that for me, human capital in terms of the unskilled labor. But again, from year to year, we keep getting better and better and better. And what other challenge?
Do you have any government policy affecting you? Do you have products that you're shipping, or whatever it is, or parts? The currency.
So because we don't do, so for example, that kind of thing, that maybe it's like furniture. So we don't.
Everything's made in Nigeria.
No, so not everything is made in Nigeria, but we have vendors. So I would say that they are the ones that will carry that burden, right? For us, it would just be, it's a secondary burden, because if we had already planned that, oh, this thing will take us 3 months to get in, to deliver, and it's taking 4 months, it means that we need to quickly communicate that to our clients. Exactly, right? So we still find a way to kind of like manage it, but we also know that, you know, government can wake up tomorrow morning and then ban something, and it can affect you. And so that's why even in our board, right, the board that we set up, like advisory board, is interesting. So we have like a SAN that is there, and then we also have someone that has military background as well, and, you know, is also like close to
support.
Yes, exactly. So I mean, like, so in things like that, like when you're setting up your business, these are some of the things that you also need to think about, right? Especially in a terrain like Nigeria, where anything can happen. There are times where we have to move things from Lagos to another state. So there's insurance, and then there's also some logistics issue. And so for us, we have to have someone that we know that, okay, will help us secure. And so those are some of the things that.
Thank you so much, Morenike. I had a wonderful time. And I learned a lot of things from you. And I'm sure our viewers, I'm sure if you want to go into the interior design business, you've heard all what she has said, all the steps she has taken. And please note that it's all about hard work, passion, hard work, learning, a lot of learning. And don't give up. There will be tough times. Anybody who wants to start a business and you want to be successful and you don't want to go through the rigors of the work, then you're actually wasting your time. She's a living example that even if the businesses has been there, I mean, other businesses have been there for a long time, it doesn't mean anything. Just have the courage and start. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you, Morenike, for being such a gracious.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching this episode of Omo's Couch. If you would like to see more inspiring content like this, follow me on Facebook and Instagram. The handle is Omon Odike. Also subscribe to my YouTube channel at Omon Odike.